back to another episode of Honorability Time. I am your host, Josias Abriel, published author and PhD student. Will be Dr. Abriel in the future. We love to hear that. Okay, with us today, we have once again another fan favorite, another all star. Tabari is back to bless us all. Tabari.
Hello, beautiful people. Hi.
Okay, so Tabari. Oh, by the way, folks, Tabari's let's see, his information for his book and maybe his YouTube channel, I think, as well, will be in the
hmm
episode description below. So go and check out that. We love to support over here. Okay, so today we're gonna be talking about how to attain satisfaction despite living in a difficult world. Tabari, what made you want to talk about this? How does this speak to you?
I wanted to talk about this because a lot of people around me, graduating or spending more time in school, such as myself, um, it's really hard as we're growing into more being adults and just even people older than me. It's hard for us to just survive with everything going on in this country, like politically and spiritually. It's just a lot of like resistance towards the life that we all want. And I'm seeing a lot of intelligent, amazing people, kind of just burn out or just, they don't want to live life anymore despite all the potential that's in their life. And I think for me, I'm just naturally optimistic. So I can't have my periods of being low, but I'm just seeing so many like magnificent people just like they feel like it's not worth it. And I want to inspire people to be stubborn about life and to be like, it is worth it. You should live life and you deserve to have the best life possible despite everything.
Right, right, right. So how do to answer the topic, how do we attain? Cuz what you just said, that is completely me. That is completely me. I'm just like, mm, I've done enough goodness on this earth. I if I leave today, I will still be making a positive impact tomorrow. I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at everything going on, and I'm just like, listen, this is too. I just can't swallow a species that hates and kills each other so much yet thrives off of it. I just can't swallow being a part of that type of species. And by species, I'm talking about humans, folks. And I'm not saying not like all humans are like that. No, I'm just seeing too much and hearing too much to where it's so like it's overwhelming me. Not I don't even want to say overwhelming me. It's just exhausting me. I'm just like, I know I can go to somewhere better. And I know I'm from somewhere better and somewhere so loving and all that stuff. So I was like, I could just go back. Um, and so everything you were just saying, I completely resonate with that. I noticed that it's I'm starting to think it's more a collective thing, not saying everybody, but just saying large groups of people feeling the same things that you just described. So
Yeah.
how do we, Tabari, attain satisfaction despite living in a difficult world?
Well, the first thing I wanted to say is that, like going off what you said, there are different realms, or there is a different level of existence, the spiritual realm, however you choose to believe it is, like what it's about. But I believe like there has to be a reason we're here. And I don't have that reason just to lay out for everybody, but
Right.
the way that the way this earth or 3D reality is orchestrated and the way that we're built and the way our spiritual capabilities, there has to be a reason we incarnated
Right.
in on earth. There has to be a reason for that. And
For those
I
who
think
don't
that
know,
reason.
for those who don't know what
Oh, go
incarnate
ahead.
means, can you tell us what incarnate means? Think.
Yes, to me it's basically where you were a spirit in the spiritual realm, you
Mm-hmm.
were formless, and then you went from having no form to physically manifesting in a physical form as a baby in your mother's womb. So incarnating is where it's basically you shifted realities and perceptions,
Mm-hmm.
and now you are like 3D, like you're physical matter. You weren't physical matter before, and after you transition, you die, you'll go back to being non-physical matter. You'll go back to being in the non-physical, the spiritual realm.
Yes. Okay, continue, continue.
Okay, so with that being said, I think that as much as I try to focus on the reason of us being here, it does lead you down a spiral because there's never going to be a concrete answer. But what I am interested in is the things that we're going to talk about today of like, how can we focus on just living the best life possible despite the difficulty that's there? Because it's possible. It's just, are you willing to? That's
Mm-hmm.
really all it is. It's just a choice. There is no you have to or you should, or it's just if you want to. It's a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we have to get stubborn about life and realize that yes, we are under oppression. Yes, we are under resistance in a certain way, but that doesn't mean that we don't deserve to be here. We shouldn't be here, and that life doesn't have a lot of great things to offer. So, the very first thing to attain satisfaction despite living a difficult world, I would say, is your personal meanings about life. So, you have to unpack what do you believe about yourself and this earth and the other people around you? What are your personal meanings that you're attaching? And what I mean by that is if you've grown up with a lot of hardship, parents weren't very good, bullied, you just struggle in a lot of different ways, your brain will start to form a bias that life is just terrible. Life is evil, it's out to get you because you have so much evidence of life just in your eyes being terrible. But I want us to detach from those objective truths or beliefs about life. And just because we have all been through a lot of negative experiences, it doesn't mean the rest of your life is terrible. It doesn't mean life itself is supposed to be pain. It's just that those were the circumstances that you were under. Because there's a lot of positive things that can happen in the future for you. There's things that's happening right now. And I think that when we attach to meanings is when we start to feel less satisfied with life. Um, we feel like people are always out to get us. People will always ridicule us. They will always bully us. We'll always be poor. We'll always be unhappy. We'll keep falling back into depression. These are beliefs, but you never know. You don't know. And I think we have to stop pretending we know. I think that's what makes us less satisfied with life because we assume we know. I think I've attained more peace, especially like this like final year of undergrad for me when I realized I don't know. I don't always know what's next for me, and I don't know exactly what life is. And that doesn't have to turn into nihilism. It can actually be something that's freeing because you realize that it's an exploration. It's an adventure that you're on. No movie you've ever watched or anything, any show you've watched, there's been no conflict, you know? So we're going to go through conflict, but it's really about your response to the conflict and your meanings that you attach to it.
Oh, that made me think. Okay, two things. One, for those of us who don't know what nihilism is, can you give us your definition of nihilism?
Yes, I don't have the perfect definition,
Right,
but
but the
to me,
definition that makes what you
my
said make sense. Yeah.
my understanding is nihilism kind of goes into I guess it can be synonymous with pessimism, I suppose,
Mm-hmm.
but nihilism is basically I think we're like life is kind of meaningless, so it's like why should I live it? That's how I think of it.
Oh yeah, that's
It's
the true
like it doesn't
definition.
matter. Okay, I just
Mm-hmm.
wanted to make sure. But it's kind of just like why should I live it if nothing matters, you know? Because I think a lot of us reach that point, especially when you come out of religion and certain things, you're just like, well, what's the point then? But there do we have to understand the point to enjoy it? Is that's kind of the philosophical question that I have for people, is that do you have to understand in order to enjoy? And I don't know. Do you have to understand how a roller coaster is built to enjoy the roller coaster? Not necessarily. Do you need to know how a movie was filmed in order to enjoy the film? No, you don't. So, that's what I'm willing to argue with people that do say that, because I used to be that person. That's why I've studied Buddhism,
Mm-hmm.
Hinduism, Christianity, Judaism, voodoo, Ifa,
Mm-hmm.
everything. I've literally studied all these religions and theories and things. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought once I figured out the truth, the point of life, I will be happy. And what I came up with, there are multiple truths of life that people have. None of them 100% make sense. And then it comes to a point where it's like, maybe there is no point. And then I realized, why do I need to find that? Why do I need that? What is that going to give me? Why do I need that point? Why can't I just use my free will to craft out a life that's good for me and the people around me? Why does it have to be a point? I think there is one, just in my belief in the creator,
Mm-hmm.
but I think I think there's almost like a spell put on earth where we're not even meant to know, really.
Right, the
I feel like
spiritual
we were meant to know.
amnesia.
Yes, I think we do go through a spiritual amnesia, or a lot of people call it a veil of forgetfulness or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. So if we pass through that veil, there must be a reason for that. There must be some type of reason for that, in my opinion. So I feel as though it's nothing wrong with questioning, but I just think we should focus more on experiencing life than trying to always understand it.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to what I said about personal meaning,
Mm-hmm.
I was talking about it with a friend recently, how like when we're younger, a lot of our personal meanings about life can be skewed because of like us being younger. What I mean by that is like if you're in like fifth grade or fourth grade and everybody's talking about your weight or your hair, your your personal meaning is that everybody hates me
Mm-hmm.
or I am worthless. Because at that time, your only life is your school and family. So if school or family is treating you bad, your personal meaning about life is that life is terrible. But that was supposed to be the point of having our parents there. They were supposed to help guide us towards real personal meanings that
Mm-hmm.
actually are accurate, truthful.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us still continue in that pattern when we get older, where we have these objective meanings about life in ourselves. Oh, people keep talking about my weight. I must be worthless. I must not matter. I'm ugly or this. We attach these personal meanings about life all the time. And I think we talked about this before, where I want more people to practice a little bit more detachment or be able to question your own thinking of like, is life completely terrible? Is Earth completely terrible? Is there not a lot of good going on that the media doesn't show us or talk about because it's not interesting or sexy to people to hear about?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a website I went on a long time ago, and it was called like goodnews.org or something like that. It's like websites tailored for just hearing good news about the world. And no one thinks of that. People just think of going to the regular news. No. What if you typed in, I only want to see good news? And you'll be very surprised to see there's a lot of good things happening in the world. So I want people to challenge your beliefs about life is terrible, life is evil, everything's corrupted. That's not true. And we know that's not true because me, Tabari, and Josiah are here, and we're speaking about things that are positive and we're focused on positive. So we know that's not true. So that's really the first thing when it comes to attaining more satisfaction in life.
Mm-hmm. Wow, I'm speechless once again. Um, oh my god! Every time you come on, I'm speechless. I'm just sitting here learning like a student. Um, okay, and so what is the you said that's one thing. So what's another thing?
Okay. The second thing that might be the most important thing. It might be to me. This is something I did personal research on when I was just taking one of my industrial psychology classes
Ooh.
because we had to study. Because industrial psychology is basically focused on, for those that don't know, it's basically the field of psychology that focuses on work life and well being. Like at work in your career, are you satisfied and stuff like that? So we had to write papers where we studied what causes satisfaction in life, because satisfaction was interplaying with work life. So we're trying to figure out what makes workers unhappy, what makes life unhappy. And when I was doing a lot of research into what really makes someone happy, and there's studies on this, that in one of the most vital determinants of a life where you feel satisfied is actually your social life. It's how connected you feel to people and your family and your friends to people. And that may sound obvious, but you got to think about the country that we're in. It focuses on the opposite. So the country that we're in focuses on individualism, and it
Yes.
focuses on, oh, I just have to go be a boss millionaire CEO and I just need to get my own money and travel and that's it. But it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't, this type of structure that we're living in doesn't cause us to actually be satisfied on a human level
Mm-hmm.
because it takes out the factor of relationships and
Yes.
connections, which is
Mm-hmm.
one of the the highest determinants of life satisfaction and happiness.
Mm-hmm.
So, and someone may disagree. I'm not saying that work doesn't matter or money doesn't matter.
Right.
Obviously not. It doesn't, it does matter. But it's not the most vital way to satisfaction. And I
Right.
realize this because I follow someone, and I'm not gonna give away all his details, but I follow someone, and he has a lot of money. He has a very successful business, and he's my age. He's in his 20s, and he talks about a lot how like he has all this money, but he's just constantly unsatisfied. He's constantly anxious. He's constantly not happy. And I was really thinking to myself at first, like, why? Like you have all the money. He could do anything he wants because he has the money to do it. Like he really could go anywhere, buy anything. Has a nice car, lives alone. So I'm like, well, why wouldn't you be happy when you have access to everything?
Mm-hmm.
And then I go on my YouTube and a video is recommended to me, and it's a guy who he sold his company for like $50 million, and he's not even. I don't think he's 30 yet. He's in his 20s, sold his company for like $50 million, and he just constantly raking in money. But he's making videos talking about how unsatisfied he is with life. He's just not happy. And I was thinking to myself once again, how could you not be happy?
Mm-hmm.
But then I realized through these connections, especially with men, we go
Mm-hmm.
after money so much. We go after our own careers. We go after all these physical things, but it's not making us satisfied. We're not happy.
Right.
So I was like, okay, damn, there has to be something else. And it's connection. It's having connection to people. It's
Mm-hmm.
having connection to life.
Yeah.
And we used to have this in ancient communities, like
Mm-hmm.
in African tribal communities.
Yeah.
We used to live in a tribe
Very
where
communal.
everyone
Exactly.
mattered, and
Yeah.
it was communal. It wasn't about hierarchies. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't about all that. It was about you're special. We need you in the collective. And the ants do this, the birds do this, the animals do this, but we don't do this all the time anymore. Where it's
Right.
like it's just about me and mine.
Mm-hmm.
But in a tribal community, relationships mattered because you needed each other,
Right.
and we still do. Especially as African or Black people that may be listening, we need each other. Like we still have tribal DNA inside of us. So one of the like going back to the point, that was a whole tangent, but going back to the point, prioritize your relationships.
Mm-hmm.
That if you want to feel more satisfied, prioritize healthy relationships. And you may not find that in family. You may not find that all the time at your job, but in those few people that you can, one or two people is enough, really.
Yeah.
Um, do you have that meaningful, healthy connection?
Yeah. There's a word for that that I learned with in my sociology doctorate. Is It's called social capital. So social capital,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
yeah. For those who don't know, social capital is community. It is each other, and in America at least, social capital has declined significantly. And now America, and I learned this at the research conference that I presented at a couple months ago, is that America is now number one in individualism and number two in narcissism. And Russia's number one in
Mm.
narcissism. And I was just like,
Mm.
one, the thing about America, and don't get me wrong, I love my country, I love America. However, I'm just like, that makes complete sense. I was like, that makes complete sense. But the rise of technology is directly correlated to the decline in social capital, folks. And this
Mm-hmm.
started, we saw the decline with the introduction of TVs, televisions. That's where we saw the decline start. And of course, it just got worse after that. It did. It did. The decline just got, it just declined more the more technology was
Yeah.
introduced, and so yeah, social capital is completely important. And um I wouldn't be shocked that if we're still around in 10 years as humans, if we're at this billions and billions of population that we're at now as humans within 10 years, I wouldn't be surprised if something hits the media talking about a loneliness epidemic. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I've heard little things about it before, but I haven't seen it so like talked about in a widespread way, such as it hitting, national medias. But I think we could start seeing that, more and more, I think it's also going to take, if someone's feeling lonely, I think it's also going to take society to stop stigmatizing the word lonely and just see like this is a reality. Now what can we do about it? How
Mm-hmm.
can we help this person not be lonely? You know what I mean? Whether it's just saying, "Oh, don't feel that way." And I was just like, "Okay, thank you. So helpful." But yeah, the decline in social capital. Humans need each other. Even what a couple centuries ago, the Native Americans, you know, um, before they were taken over, um, they were one of the best examples that I learned about of social capital. That even if someone has a disability, they still wouldn't leave that person behind. Even in times of great famine, they still would not let anyone starve. Everyone was equal and important. Everyone was
Yes.
equal and important. So even in times where food was little, they still didn't do the whole thing where, well, this person has more so we're going to give them more. No. Even the person who was like disabled and about to die, no, they still gave them food. And that was just so beautiful. And like you were saying, Tabari, like even tribes in Africa, like that was humanity back then. It was we did things
Mm-hmm.
together. Humans today, I would love for us to learn the easy way that we can't do it all on our own. I know individualism is glorified, and I'm not going to get too into it, but I learned why individualism is glorified. I learned one of the ways, and it is capitalism. Capitalism profits over individualization, stomping on your neighbor, climbing to the top and damaging anyone in the process because it's all about you. Capitalism, for those who don't know, in simple terms, it's basically a system that um, um, it how do I say this in easy terms? Because I don't want to get off on a tangent about capitalism. I can go on all day. It's a
Mm-hmm.
system that conditions society to value profit over people. And that may sound like it's not that bad, but the extent to where it values profit, it does not value people. The extent, folks, of it. It doesn't matter who you kill. It does not matter. It doesn't matter who you hurt. It doesn't matter. Addiction, mental illness, incarceration, all $1 billion industry, folks. And I'm not just saying this. This is not my opinion, folks. I'm backing this up with knowledge. And I say that with a sigh, folks, because I was telling Tabari before this, knowledge, it's it can be enlightening, but to me it can also be a burden as well as enlightening. And this is what I'm learning in
They
my
could be a curse.
exactly. Oh my gosh, yes. This is what I'm learning in my PhD classes. So trust me, folks. I'm not just saying this out of opinion. This is a fact um, that you know those in higher hierarchical statuses don't want us to know, because if we don't know, it can continue. And so it's individualism. It's not our friend. It Capitalism lies to us and tells us, oh, hey, if you have all this money and if you have this nice mansion, this nice car, that's what happiness is. And then it's just like, but guess what? There are people that are so unhappy with those things, like even having those things, that they kill themselves or they're depressed. And I'm not saying like necessarily killing themselves as like a just strictly a mental illness thingy, like a mental illness symptom. I'm talking about like strictly just they are so unhappy with life because they were told this is what makes you happy, and then they get to that point and they realize it was false, that maybe that's not what happiness was. And happiness is needs could be tied to well-being, and there's multiple things other than just cars and houses and tons of money that can make someone happy. Sure, money can add on to the happiness, but it is if it's just the sole provider of the happiness, it could fail. And we've seen it that it could fail. Humans need each other. We need each other. There's we need each other. You can't go and cry on money's shoulders. Thomas Jefferson, you can't cry on his shoulder.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
You
So.
can't. You can't do any of those things. Those dead presidents can't do anything for us on a real internal level.
Mm-hmm.
Money can just get money helps mostly with our external well-being, which
Yes.
is important, which can sometimes contribute to our internal well-being,
Right.
but our internal well-being is more closely associated with our relationships, our connections, our
Yes.
community.
That's
And
so what
also,
happened.
I liked what you said. You talked about the you were talking about the loneliness epidemic. And here's the thing about that too. You cannot gaslight someone out of feeling
Right.
lonely
Right.
or
Right.
alone. And I feel like it's stigmatized, or it's like you just like, oh, you're not lonely, like you need to be powerful by yourself, completely by yourself. And I'm so tired of that because
So over it.
um we're just, we're not built like that. We're just not built to be completely alone all the time.
Mm-hmm.
um and I think that no one, even the most like person, like the person that may be listening, you may have like no friends, or you may not be around people at all. I'm willing to bet you're still building a relationship with something. I've heard a lot of people who are creative that were introverts and didn't have friends growing up. They wrote out characters, they made stories, they
Mm-hmm.
somewhat they believed in spirits or spirituality to some degree. You're always building a relationship with something. You may be that nerd that just watches anime. You probably have a relationship with those characters.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the thing, you cannot escape the human truth of relationship. And even though there may not be physical people, you are making a relationship with something.
Right.
Because you have to, you're wired that way.
Right.
And if you can, if it is possible for you to make a physical human connection, that would be the best. That would be the strongest thing.
Yeah.
Because I would argue this because everyone's had like gone to like a bad party or like a bad club or like had a bad trip somewhere, right? But you went with your friends or family, someone you could laugh about it with, someone where y'all could tell stories about this thing. It makes the trip or party or event much better when you go with someone you love and care about and someone that loves and cares about you. Because even though the thing didn't work out, y'all can laugh about it. Y'all may go outside the party on the sidewalk and be laughing with each other and just be, or you may just like, oh, we'll just go home and we'll just watch a movie together. That's the thing that's going to make life more satisfying. That's the thing. That is the little magic that we don't really think about. And it's something that I've had to prioritize more because I feel like I'm qualified to talk about this because I've lost over probably 10 different friendships in my 4 years of undergrad. So, but I realized, why was I so sad or just depressed a lot of my times through my undergrad? And I realized that it wasn't even about school mostly. I mean, school is stressful, but it wasn't really that.
Right.
I could fail an exam and be like, whatever, moving on with life. Or I could, oh, my job, the check was low. Okay, I'll move on. We'll be okay. That wasn't for me. That wasn't it. What made me the most sad was my relationships with the people I was around. And the people that you're around affect your personality in the way that you think. as
Mm-hmm.
well. And I'm sure Josiah knows more about that when it comes to sociology. But the people affect you. People literally are affecting you every day, the people you're talking to.
Mm-hmm.
So it really does matter more than you think to prioritize those relationships. And I notice the people that don't prioritize relationships are those high achievers. I
Mm-hmm.
know a lot of high achievers in my life, and it's like they're really good at setting a goal, going after the goal, getting the money, building the company, the thing. But are you happy? Are you satisfied? The relationships are usually very poor because if
Mm-hmm.
you focus all your energy, all of it into business or money, there doesn't leave room, excuse
Mm-hmm.
me, for those relationships.
Yeah.
And it's just a human thing. It's a human thing you can't escape.
Right. Exactly. And that's another thing, going off of that, like everything you just said, and um, going off of that, is we are now in a capitalism looks different today than it did, you know, in the 70s. And especially because of the introduction of technology, capitalism evolved and adapted, and utilized it. And so everywhere I look, like I stay away from like mainstream songs. That's just me. I just do that. I just do that also because of the hertz frequencies, and the vibrations that they can give out. But let me, but um, media, it we're just all it's always being thrown in our face. Get money, get rich, get get this, get this. It is just throwing individualism in our face, and we're just so becoming so conditioned, to think that this is the way it's supposed to be. This is the way it needs to be. This it is what it is. That's a to me that's a very scary statement. That always has been. It is what it is. That's a very scary statement because it's that being said at the wrong, like, at a time where something needs to be spoken up. That's a very scary statement. But anyways, um, yeah, it's just so being thrown at us. You know what I mean? Especially, and then you got expectations and gotta reach for approval. You gotta, be competitive to get this spot at the job. It's just like individualism. Yeah, you don't need other people. But that's the thing is that we do, and not even just on a relationship aspect, whether that be romantic, friendship, it doesn't matter. Whether that be networking, we need people. For example, like when we go to the store, it took multiple hands to build that store. It took multiple hands to
Yeah.
build that store. Yeah, so I'm just like, we need
Yeah.
people. We need each other. And so people think, oh, I
Dude.
don't need no one. I'm just like, okay, then throw away your phone, make your own phone, um, burn your house down, build your own house. Let's see, you need food, you build your own farm by yourself, don't ask for help. You cut your own trees down, you build a barn, you do that, you know what I mean? And so when we think about it like that, that usually helps people, and myself included, because once upon a time I had to tell myself this constantly to challenge myself and be like, no, I need people. I need people. Because I'm just like, if you don't, then okay, then the bed that you lay in, make sure you make your own bed. Don't buy a mattress. Don't go to us, because that involves you going to a store that was built by multiple hands. But you don't need people, right? So don't go. Don't do it yourself. So I was just like, no, no, no. See, we need each other. We are so connected yet so separate. And that's what hurts. You know, it
Yeah.
hurts because I think we're gonna have to learn the and when I say we, I'm not talking about just individual people. I mean just like society, because social capital decline is, um, it has touched the world. Capitalism is global. Social capital decline is global. Funny how technology is also global, and but anyways, let me not go there. Um,
Hmm.
but I'm just like, what is it gonna take for us to remember and to see once again that we need each other, and it's okay to need somebody. It's okay to reach for help. It's okay to have community. It's okay to not do it all on your own. You're one human being, and I know capitalism says you're an object that works. You're not a human. No, you are a human being. Humans are simple and complex at the same time. We're so connected. We need each other. We're and we're verbal creatures. We need each other. So I liked everything that you said. Um, I had to add the system in there that
I'm glad
exacerbates
you did.
this.
Yes, they need to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah, because Tabari, it can be it's one of those things that can be hidden in plain sight. You know, I had to learn. Like I didn't realize how I knew capitalism was bad, but I didn't know that much about capitalism until I started my PhD program and learned about it. And it is so hidden in plain sight, Tabari. It when remember I told you that it broke me mentally. I was talking about capitalism. It's so hidden in plain sight, especially when I realized that not only is this harming people on an individual level, that broke me, but it harmed me as well. And I was like,
Yeah.
I didn't realize how intertwined I was with capitalism. And so, yeah, it's just, yeah. So it's a hard pill to swallow, but it's a necessary pill to know. You know how they say ignorance is bliss. It depends on what the situation is, but I feel like this is one of those things where it's just like you may think ignorance is bliss when it comes to capitalism, but I was like capitalism runs if you got to be aware of it at least, you know. So it's enlightening to just be aware of it. And I also, last thing, Tabari, before we move on or before you say something, for those listening, if you want to do research on capitalism, um, I will just have it in the back of your head for sure, but learn little by little. Don't learn it all at once, because it could overwhelm you and affect you mentally. Um, just warning. So if you do learn it little by little. If not, it's cool. You don't have to. But if you do, learn it. You know, you know yourself better than I do. So if you find yourself getting overwhelmed and I'm not even gonna say sad, but like depressed from learning it, take a break, pick it back up in 2 months from now or something like that. Because capitalism's not going anywhere, folks. You can still learn about it whenever. So yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Oh yes.
Yeah, we always get on that capitalism talk every time we go back to
Mm-hmm.
capitalism because
Yes.
because it's the stuff that happens on the macro level that affects us on the micro or whatever, the smaller level.
Yes.
That's the thing. That's why we always come back to capitalism. I know they're like, dang, every time Tabari
It's
see we go back to capitalism,
everywhere.
but you have to. You have to, like, you literally have to.
Exactly.
Um, yeah, but when it comes to my last thing that I came here to tell you guys about, when it comes to like having that satisfaction despite living in a difficult world, the last one is actually really important, and it's getting undervalued, and I understand why.
Mm.
Because the third reason is having a spiritual connection.
Mm-hmm.
And I leave that to be very vague because spiritual connection can mean different things for different people.
Right.
It doesn't have to necessarily be attached to one religion.
Right.
And I think that's something that we don't see as well because, okay, if we are a spirit, like I said earlier, that incarnates into a physical body as a human, I feel like us not valuing the spiritual is also leading to our dissatisfaction with life. Because how can you be a spiritual being? Like the reality, the truth of who you are, you're a spiritual being, right? So if you're not acknowledging that daily, I feel like that also leads to dissatisfaction. And I understand why in research and on a scientific level, they don't they don't always prioritize spirituality because it
Mm-hmm.
can't always be measured logically all the time.
Right.
But it doesn't, just because something cannot be measured does not mean it's not real. Just because something
Mm-hmm.
cannot be observed does not mean it's not affecting you. You
Mm-hmm.
can't see Wi-Fi, you can't see sound, you can't even see all the colors on the spectrum with
Right.
your eyes. You can't hear like a dog can or an animal can. There are things that are
Mm-hmm.
outside your awareness. We know that. But we figured out ways scientifically to see certain things, right? You know about atoms. You've never seen an atom. You know about cells. You haven't seen a cell,
Mm-hmm.
like, but you know it's there. So when it comes to spirituality, that is helping you connect with your spirit. And your spirit has a lot of answers. Or you
Mm-hmm.
could say, instead of saying spirit, you could say God, or you could say ancestors, whatever you believe in.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have that connection because there's higher knowledge than what your brain currently is offering to you.
Uh-huh.
There's knowledge and there's wisdom. And there's a sense of peace that I can't really explain when you have spiritual connection. It's a sense of peace. I can't explain it. And you may find that peace just going out in nature.
Mm-hmm.
You may find that peace in prayer. You may find that peace in the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, in Taoism, the Tao Te Ching. You may find that in the Quran. It's a sense of peace that cannot be accessed in any other way than a spiritual lens. And I can't explain that.
Mm-hmm.
And that sense of peace has anchored me a lot despite the world being difficult, because you have to remind yourself that you're not from this world.
Right.
This is like a reality you stepped into.
Mm-hmm.
And I think acknowledging that a lot can make you detach a bit from the difficulty or
Oh yeah, it
the
definitely
negativity
helps.
and evil of earth. You have to
Mm-hmm.
realize that you are visiting. You're on a temporary assignment. And it depends if you believe in reincarnation. Maybe it's not temporary for some of you.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, this life that you're living is temporary. At least I can say this one is.
Mm-hmm.
It's temporary.
Yeah.
So I think acknowledging that, and then acknowledging you have spiritual abilities, you have an intuition you can tap into.
Right.
There's many things you can do that can supersede physical reality. So physical reality is trying to oppress you. Physical
Mm-hmm.
reality has gravity that brings us down.
Right. It has its
And
limitations and its
physical,
constraints.
it has its limitations. But when you tap in spiritually, you do the supernatural. And
Mm-hmm.
supernatural means literally what that word means, supernatural. You're going over the natural.
Mm-hmm.
Or the word metaphysics. Metaphysics, you're going beyond physics.
Mm-hmm.
You're going beyond. So I feel as though if you want to feel more satisfaction, joy, happiness, figure out what spirituality means to you. Figure out what that connection is to you and really lean into it. And then let that actually be the individual experience that you have. Your
Mm-hmm.
spirituality does not have to always be communal, actually. And that's such the
Right.
opposite of what we just talked about. That's actually the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Spirituality does not actually have to be communal. Communal. It does
Right.
help though. It does help if it is communal. Like there
Mm-hmm.
is a purpose of people going to a church. There is a
Mm-hmm.
purpose behind that. But spirituality does not start and end in the church or around other people. You can
Mm-hmm.
have it in your room by yourself. It
Right.
even says that biblically that you're supposed to go to God alone anyways and not have to pray or boast in front of other people. It says that biblically.
Mm-hmm.
So it literally tells us biblically that we can practice alone. We don't need other people to do that.
Mm-hmm. And that's a beautiful thing that I like that you mentioned at the beginning when you started the topic about spirituality is that it doesn't have to be like a religion, you know? Um, because like for me now, it's more like universe, higher powers, higher self, the source or life itself. Uh-oh, can you hear me? Tabari, why is it glitching
Hello?
out? Oh yeah, sorry, my computer
Yeah, I can hear
glitched.
you. It
Sorry,
started like phasing out when you were talking though.
my
Hello?
computer glitched. So yes, sorry for the technical difficulty, folks. So yes, Tamari, I like what you're saying. How like spirituality doesn't have to be a religion. It can be whatever you connect with, like universe, like I don't know, witchery, whatever that is for you. Like for me, it's universe, higher powers, higher self, um, and also like some say, here, let me turn this off. Some say, some call it God, some call it source, some call it life, love, whatever that is. I connect. It's also within me, so I also connect within me as well. Um, yeah, and so I love that you gave that broad definition of spirituality because I agree. I think it is something very broad and not just tied to just one thing. It's not exclusive uh, to anything. You know, it can be you and what you believe in, what you connect with, whatever you call your higher power, or if you just don't believe in anything at all, you can connect with yourself. That's also a form, could be a form of spirituality, like going deep within inside yourself and the life within you and something like that. That's also what I
Yes.
learned. So, yeah, I like that you had mentioned that. Yes.
Yeah, and there's one thing I wanted to add. I wanted to add
Yes.
something. So I recently found out it's like I didn't know that there were words for this, but I follow someone and she went to school for theology and she's deeply into spirituality and she was posting about it's a woman on Instagram. It's the I am the real Mambo on Instagram and she posted about this
Mm-hmm.
and it's something called the left hand path and the right hand path. And basically, if I remember correctly, I might have had them confused. But I believe the right hand path is basically where that's your spiritual path where you focus on God or higher power outside of you. And basically, you're doing your best to connect with and please that higher power outside of you. And you're connecting with that power so it can give you wisdom, protection, guidance, insight. So that's one path of spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
The other path of spirituality, called the left hand path, is basically where you believe that you are the power.
Mm-hmm.
You are the power in your life. Like you are the one manifesting, attracting, speaking, blessing, creating, cursing, destroying, whatever you believe it to be. But it just basically means that you are the highest power in your universe, your
Right.
reality, your life. And you're the one determining what's going on. And it's basically where you're essentially your own god, where a lot of people are very scared to like go down that path because of what it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, these are two different paths that you can take, and it really has to, in my opinion, it has the same destination. I don't think it actually matters which path that you take, the
Right.
left hand or the right, and you still are going to be led towards the same spiritual results if done correctly, in a healthy way. um but I just wanted to add that because some people are just confused about should I be doing this or should I be doing that. That is completely subjective. I've seen
Mm-hmm.
people have results with both paths.
Right. So, for those of us who don't know, what does subjective mean?
Okay, so subjective basically is like it's not universal. It's not everybody. It's individual. It's on
Mm-hmm.
an individual level. Like subjective, it's like it just means that that meaning is a personal meaning for you.
Right. Exactly.
So like
So, yeah.
so like if I say like liking, I don't know, Beyonce's music is subject or her music is subjectively good, I guess. I suppose it's basically a personal opinion.
Right.
Someone may not like it, and that's fine.
Right.
I love it though. So it's subjective. Now, objective is the opposite, where it means that her music is universally good. So when I say Beyonce's music is good, that is a final statement. That is like that's what it means for everybody in the entire world. It's
Right.
great music, but it's subjective though.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Another definition, which is exactly what you said, pretty much, is something being like right or wrong. It can also be tied to like whatever that circumstance is. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So let's see. Like ooh, I can't say that one. I can, but I don't want to get in trouble. Uh, I think y'all got the point. Tabari explained it very well. Yeah, use his example for my definition. But yeah,
I like what
we
you said, right or wrong. Right or wrong. There's like in objective there is a wrong. In subjective there is no right or wrong. It's just personal opinion. But objective
exactly
there's a right or wrong.
Exactly, exactly. There you go. Yeah, there you go. That's the best way to say it. Because the example that I wanted to use was very extreme, but it is it would have lined up with the
They was gonna come
definition.
get you.
Hmm.
They was about to get you.
They
I said if you
was.
said it, they was gonna come get you.
Yeah.
Yep.
As soon as I said it, it's gonna be knocking at my door. Yeah. Woo! I'll tell you after. I can tell you after, Tabari. But sorry, folks, I can't say it on the podcast. I can get away with a lot of things on this podcast, folks, according to the contract that I have. However, I cannot. There is two things that I can't do, and so one of those things was gonna like align with the example that I was gonna use, which is a great example. It'll really make us think, but I don't think I can say it. Sorry, folks. In the sake of vulnerability time, I'm just gonna tell y'all that that's why I can't say it.
They'll forgive you.
Yeah. They'll forgive me. Thanks, guys. Thanks, y'all. Okay, Tabari. Is there anything else you would like to say before we head out?
Yeah, I just want to recap what we have here. So,
Yes.
how to attain satisfaction despite living in a difficult world. Number one, have your own personal meanings and be able to challenge your personal meanings about life, especially if they're objectively negative. The second thing is to prioritize relationships harder than you prioritize being boss and CEO all the time. Not saying you can't be both, but prioritize those relationships as well. The third thing is have your own spiritual connection, and you have to explore what that means for you. But with that being said, I'm really happy to be here. I thank Josiah for inviting me for like I think this is the fourth time I've
There'll
been
be
on
more.
vulnerability, and there will be more. There will be more. I'm always happy to be here, and I just wish you guys well.
Aw. Thanks, Tabari. Tabari, stay on the phone. I mean, not the phone. Stay on the call after this. Um. Anyways, folks, that is. Thank y'all so much again for the support. Remember to share this podcast. It is now heard in 47 countries. Continue to share this podcast. You never know whose life you're gonna save. If you needed to hear this, share it. If you didn't need to hear this, you felt like, this wasn't your episode. Thanks for listening anyway, but share it anyway because you never know who it might need to hear it. What if you were the one that was supposed to send this episode to someone? What if you were that angel? All right, you were the angel that was meant to pass the message. You're just as much. You're just as important to this podcast as me and Tabari are. Everyone is equally, extremely important, and I appreciate it, and I thank you. I thank you all. And if to what Tabari said, if that doesn't work for you, um, hey, it's okay. Try it anyway, and if it doesn't work, at least you know. But folks, you are worth the try. You are so valuable, so loved, and so important. You are worth giving it a shot. Alrighty, folks. Um, uh, Video link, YouTube link in the episode description below. See y'all next time. Bye.